One time when I was browsing Reddit, I came across this post that showed me why you shouldn't make first-person movies. Back then I thought it was pretty cool, you know, someone banging their head against a wall in first person of all things isn't something you see every day, so I was hooked. With this hook, I did what anyone would do and turned to the comment section to see if people were praising it the same way that I did. And what I found there was that they weren't really focusing on what was happening to the person. They were focusing more on what was happening behind him. Or maybe, who? Bro, he's getting back shots right now. Trust me, I know this POV. It looks great, but it kinda reminds me of something else. Someone dropped the jail cell, more like prison bath time devil emoji. Had to watch this twice to realize he was going insane. I apparently thought of something else. 75 out of 167 comments were about how this dude was quite possibly getting pounded from behind, which is the first reason you shouldn't make movies in first person. It looks weird. In fact, I would like to stretch it to it looks like anything but a movie. When I say first person, what do you think about? Is it video games? Maybe the Overwatch or the Valorant comes to mind. Is it those very poorly made home videos where people almost die or all die? Or it could just be porn, I don't know. Either way, it's not movies, and I sure felt this firsthand. I watched a total of 4 movies for this video, and exactly none of them felt like an actual movie. There was Harcore Henry, which I can only describe as if John Wick had a baby with Assassin's Creed parkour, and it is just as awesome as it sounds. There was the Blair Witch Project, which is like the founding father of the first-person genre, but also very low budget, and you can tell. There was Chronicle, which I did not kinda like, because the second half kinda sucked. And then there was Enter the Void, which is the most psychedelic French thing I've ever seen. Like, you can tell this wasn't made by someone named Logan Sargent. No, only a Gaspar could make this. Saying that first-person movies don't look like movies should be subjective, right? Anything is worthy of being called a movie if that's how it truly feels to you. But then there's the gayest jacket I've ever seen.
That has got to be the gayest jacket I've ever seen.
You may or may not have seen this video, and if you have, you probably thought it was A, someone on a bus recording a normal Wednesday in Russia, or B, someone trying to stage a normal Wednesday in Russia for internet points. You'd be surprised to find that they are both wrong. This is a full feature-length film, baby. An hour and a half that you can find on Netflix. It's called Harcore Henry, and it's goddamn beautiful. The comments to the video also show how many people went through the same phases of first thinking it's real, then realizing that no, it's actually staged and not real at all. Then heading into a third phase of, wait, that's a scene from a full-length movie? Enter the Void is another one that really stretches what a movie can look like, and in this case, I am not surprised. The movie revolves around drugs, so it has these very abstract and colorful shots, and because it's in first person, it looks like you are the person stoned out of your mind. But you wouldn't want an addict reviewing the movie saying, hey, that's not at all what it looks like when you're stoned, the red around the edges there. It's way too saturated, it should look more like this. So to prevent that, the director flew to Peru, where some drugs happen to be legal, and took ayahuasca, an experience he called professional research. Yeah, professional research is a code name for psychedelic drugs I have never heard before. I usually just call it the Philosopher's Stone. This made the movie look extra weird, and maybe also made it bomb at the box office, but apart from that, it also made it very hard to shoot. Which I will talk about right after the ad break. All the movies I watched went about filming in different ways, but in all cases it was very hard. The first step is to even record in first person. The Blair Witch Project and Chronicle are both found footage, meaning the characters are genuinely holding a camera, so it's not just an angle, which is by far the easiest way to do it. It's just an actor holding a camera. Not that strange. What I want to talk about is Harcore Henry, because here the actor actually wore a mask with a camera strapped onto it for the effect. This mask was where like half the effort went, and after countless failed attempts, it ended up looking like this. 2 GoPros strapped to the front, a microphone on your forehead, and a battery on the back. The downsides of this was that your jaw hurt, you couldn't see your feet, which could be harmful when you're running on bridges, and they had to make Henry a mute. Because otherwise it would sound like...
Also, there's a certain stigma attached to blokes who like musicals. I just want to get it out there right now that I'm straight as an arrow. Got it?
No problem, man, I feel...
A solution to this would be what Enter the Void and Chronicle both did. Let the camera fly. In Enter the Void, the main character is a ghost flying around for most of the time, so really they ended up using cranes. In Chronicle, he has psychic powers that let him make the camera float and follow him along everywhere. Very convenient there. Another problem with recording in first person is something you can see from the behind the scenes. It usually looks kind of like this. You've got your highly paid actors, your camera, your other people doing things I'm sure are very important, but in Harcore Henry it looks like this. They are hiding on a roof, trying not to be seen. Because when Henry goes extra hardcore, anything can be in frame. When you make a movie in third person, it's very exact how much is going to be in frame, and whatever's going on around it isn't really your problem. I don't know what this guy's doing, but you know he's not gonna be in frame, so who cares? First person movies can't think like this, because your average scene probably involves inspecting every corner you could find in a room. Twice. So now your directors can't stand next to it. Your boom arm people have to run like hell to try and not be seen, and every set you build has to be picture perfect everywhere you look. And that's just awesome. I'm sure set designers are gonna be very happy with that. Splat Zones is basically the King of the Hill game mode in Splatoon. Each team has to cover 70% of a zone with ink in order to capture it and earn points. It was the first game mode in Ranked, and it should also not be confused with the Splash Zone. That is what the director of Harcore Henry called the 4 front rows of the cinema when it was airing. Because after watching this for an hour, chances are you won't feel too good. And if you're in the front row, you'd be lucky to get this view, because you're more likely to be watching something like this. Now try and feel okay. Basically, a lot of people feel motion sickness from watching first-person movies, which is very understandable. Motion sickness happens when there's a difference between actual and expected motion. And yeah, maybe when you bought your ticket, you thought you would see more of...
Mike has really sporadic hair patterns on his chest.
It's like a symbol.
It's like blank.
and less of... I don't think I get motion sickness very easily, but after Harcore Henry, even I felt it a little bit. It was kinda the equivalent of going on 2 roller coaster rides in a row. That's about where I would put it, so it's not too bad, but I still watched it on a TV, and it's apparently a lot worse in a cinema. When the Blair Witch Project was released, it made it all too obvious, because apparently people threw up at every single screening. Theaters in America started giving out special passes so that people could go out, get some air, get a glass of water, and head back into the action when they felt like it. Other cinemas were putting up warnings that said, "The film is making people sick. If you feel nauseous, please don't throw up in the lobby, but try and make it to the bathroom." Well, as long as you're cheering me on, I'll be sprinting like my husband's giving birth. Having a horror movie that makes people sick is kind of the best label it can get, and articles loved using it. It became sort of a challenge. Can you sit through the scariest movie ever made and not lose your lunch? Don't throw up in the lobby, but try and make it to the bathroom? My dude, you'll be praying for the lobby when you're in a room with 300 people. Maybe this makes it sound like it's a great idea to make a first-person movie, but I personally believe the charm of a horror movie that makes people nauseous dies pretty quickly, if it hasn't already. It doesn't help that every single movie I watched came with some sort of history of making people sick, which is a little telling, isn't it? Transitions. How do you go from one shot to another? That's when you need transitions, and they can be practically anything. You can cut, slide, fade, glitch, and my personal favorite, the forehead switcheroo. There are two reasons you'd want to transition, either when you're moving in time or when you just want to make it a bit easier for yourself by splitting up a scene into multiple angles. Doing this means that the actors and this important guy have less time to mess up. Very straightforward for normal movies, but very hard for first person because of one thing. Other angle? What other angle? While third person can be from practically anywhere, in first person you are restricted to one single angle. So if you don't want to jump in time every 5 seconds, you're gonna have to get creative, and creative they went. Harcore Henry made him a cyborg, so that, oh no, he's glitching again guys, I sure hope no one transitions. You can also do what Enter the Void did, and make the character blink every 5 seconds, so you have an unlimited cheat code to transitioning. At least until I spoil the fun, because look at this. This is before the blink and this is after. You see this small man over there? That's a very unusual way to move your head during a blink. Unless he's the Flash from the neck up, I don't think that's very possible. In the Blair Witch Project, they brought 2 cameras to film the documentary. And why would anyone bring a vlog camera when filming a documentary? Well, maybe because you can transition between them when you feel like it. When it comes to multiple cameras, Chronicles got you covered there because it transitions between every camera in the movie, which is extra helpful because, as you remember, the main character can make cameras fly. And isn't it just very convenient that at the climax, aka the hardest part to film, he makes about 75 different phones record him from every angle while still following the rule of thirds to a T. But the 2 most common ways to transition in first person is by either fading to black or using motion blur. Fading to black is a lot more straightforward and also a lot more difficult to see. I mean, I would assume they switch take here, but I can't say for sure. Doing it with motion blur means that on the blurriest frame, you'll switch to another shot and it won't look all too weird. You can see it be done in Harcore Henry pretty much everywhere. And look at this frame and then go forward one and it's a new shot, but it looks pretty slick anyway. This has the obvious downside that if you do it too many times, you're gonna have a lot of people running through the lobby. And I don't think all of them have the pace to make it. Sick, amazing, not unusual at all, and it wraps up everything I wanted to say. You can still make first-person movies for sure. I'm just saying there are a lot of reasons why it's hard. Like a lot. And a lot. And a few more. But maybe none of them are quite as memorable as this one.